Well, first of all, I would say anyone who isn't scared at least a little bit and confused is either naive or doesn't tell the truth. I think it's moving too fast. I think people from the FMCG world can bring that omni-channel mindset, that customer centricity mindset, as long as they're humble enough and don't think they know it all. Number one is my budget got cut, or I'm expected to deliver more with the same budget or even with less budget.
Welcome to BioPharma Unscripted with Marcus Metcalfe, bringing you real conversations with the leaders, innovators and challengers transforming biotech and pharma today.
Jens, hello, great to see you again. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. I think this is quite a new thing for both of us, but I could sense you were up for it, and I've obviously given it a try. So welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Marcus. Good morning. It's great to see you.
Thank you very much. So I'm just thinking about, maybe I should just remind us or whoever's watching this of our connection. We worked together at Mundipharma. I'd worked with Mundipharma for many years, but we were a new connection to each other. And I remember distinctly connecting with you because it was quite a new area for me, digital, although I've covered quite a lot in the commercial space. And
you didn't show that.
Thank you. I mean, I guess that's, years of recruitment, you can cover things, but so that was where we first worked together. And I guess part of the reason I wanted to talk to you is because we're both setting up on our own at a similar time. I've been getting my journey going over the last few months, and so have you. So I guess it would be helpful just to understand, because one of the things I remember about you particularly is when I looked at your profile for the first time, you had not come from a traditional pharmaceutical background, and you were coming in at quite a senior level to build digital. Well, I'll ask you to explain that in a second, but I was really interested. That was the first thing I remember about you, is how has this guy come in from Mars, I think it was, and come into pharma, and there's a lot to get your head around. But perhaps I can ask you about that first of all, is your I guess your background, but also that journey in from FMCG really into pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, exactly. So I worked at Mars, and of course I had relationships there with professional healthcare professionals as well. I was in external affairs, so that was not totally new to me. However, it was a completely different industry, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And what I observe is that in any B2B industry, and pharma obviously very focused on the product and very professional and serious appearance, sometimes people forget that healthcare professionals are human beings too.
Sure.
They are used to inform themselves, to make purchasing decisions, to shop online, and they're also spoiled in terms of customer experience. And I think people from the FMCG world can bring that omni-channel mindset, that customer centricity mindset, as long as they're humble enough and don't think they know it all, because it is a lot of hard work and fast learning required to make that shift.
So Jens, just thinking about your journey into Mundipharma, I remember distinctly you were building, you're coming to build a function, but perhaps you could just introduce what it was that you were coming in to do. What was your remit coming into Mundipharma?
Yeah, so the objective was to make Mundipharma even more relevant and more competitive, really, in a very crowded market space. So when you deal with primary care healthcare professionals, you really deal with tens of thousands of healthcare professionals in each country. Mm-hmm. And using digital tools and blending them with face-to-face and traditional print channels sounds easier than it really is. And the mandate I had was to bring Mundipharma into the digital age and transition it ultimately into this omni-channel space where everything is integrated and where the customer has a seamless experience. And as I described earlier, then it really helps to have that fast-moving consumer goods background and the digital and data savviness, and then to see what does that mean for pharma and translate it, because it's obviously not like for like and plug and play. You really have to translate it.
Yeah. Okay. Because my perception of, I mean, I've never worked in FMCG or in the consumer goods area at all, but I've worked with plenty of people in earlier in my career that came from that background into sales roles. And the thing I always remember is, they were very, very commercial. In terms of the actual mindset coming in, that was something to me that I remember distinctly, that was what they brought. That was my perception, that it was, they just kind of pushed the boundaries a little bit more, I think, in maybe more, a traditional pharma setting. Is that fair?
Yeah, and I also have a lot of respect for people having grown up in the pharma world, because they are still working super hard. They're working at a super high pace. It's just a much more regulated business. So you cannot really, it's like comparing apples with pears.
Okay.
However, there are a couple of things in terms of mindset and how you grow up professionally and what you learn that are different. And I think you want that diversity of talent. And the FMCG people sometimes have a slightly superficial knowledge of the products and the brands, but they know their customers to the last detail, and they're really great at segmentation and personas, and all of that stuff was invented in this part of the world. And then in the pharma business, you have people who are really in love with the product, the molecule. They know everything about the product, and sometimes have a rather black and white perception of the customers. And you want to bring that together. I think that's state of the art to really be strong on both feet. And then you want to have diverse talent.
Yeah. Okay. And I think so moving on to when we first connected, so we had it was Sandeep, wasn't it, that we placed with you?
Yeah. Hi, Sandeep.
Yeah. Hi.
Watching this.
Yeah, exactly. I remember speaking to you for the first time, and I felt challenged by you in a way that is good, because sometimes when you're in recruitment doing the same jobs, you kind of know what you know. You often know where it's going. But for this area, digital, it was kind of new to me, so I really had to get my head around it before. But I found that when I was talking to you, I was probably going a bit too wide with some of the profiles, and you're a man for detail. I really picked this up early on, and I found myself, it raised my bar in terms of what was expected, because I didn't know it, and I had to really double down and make sure that I was going deep into this.
Well, you didn't show that you didn't know it, and I would disagree with that to some degree. I think we had to find quickly a common understanding, which we did. I really believe in that concept of T-shaped leadership. So you have to be broad and have to have the helicopter view and know the end-to-end value chain of the business and how you fit in. However, you also have to be able to go deep, and you need to know your stuff. And if you have a vast portfolio of things that you deal with, then you also need to know where you're really good at personally, and where do you need the experts that will be better than you in that specific area, and challenge you and push the boundaries for the team. And I think that's how I would describe myself, as a fast learner from my whole university and working as a journalist kind of earlier career. To have something that you deal with, and within a day you need to have a good understanding what you're talking about. And then I knew where I had a gap and what the solution would look like. I just didn't know how to find it, and that's where you came in.
That's where it came in. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I just remember the moment. You do have moments you remember things, and it was. I needed to up my game, but also what was really good is the clarity you gave me around what you were looking for. I mean, as any recruiter, you're often a bit of a mind reader in this recruitment world, but not with you. And that was great, because even though I wasn't, I was fairly new to the area, by the way you communicated, I was able to have a clear brief, and that is just what you need, because you can't deliver. So think about your current situation. I've said before, we've kind of started our journeys at similar time, but could you explain to me? Well, I know this because we talked before, but what you're doing now with so you've obviously moved on from Mundipharma, but what is Jens up to? What's the plan for you now? Because I've seen you a lot on LinkedIn. I want to know more.
Yeah, so I've worked for over 15 years now in marketing and corporate communications roles, and with a heavy focus on transformation. That's kind of where I came
Okay.
from. And I realized this is an exciting opportunity to do interim project management and consulting, because there's a high demand right now for people, senior people who have the experience but don't need a lot of ramp up period of
Yeah.
time, can come in, have seen it, done it, and know what needs to get done. So I've kind of developed a new methodology also for corporate communications, bringing together the two elements, distinct elements of my career. I spent the last 5-6 years in digital transformation, performance marketing, commercial excellence, really helping the business to become more effective and more impactful. And now I'm bringing that to the world of corporate affairs, so corporate communications, public affairs, also marketing communications, and making it more performance oriented. And
Okay.
that's really resonating with people. We're
Yeah.
living in a world with tight budgets,
Yeah.
where more with less is really the demand.
Okay.
And I think interim and project management really fits very well for that proposition, that
Okay.
promise.
So the needs there, but the fact you're flexible in how you offer that solution is the advantage here when you're talking to potential customers.
I think so. I mean, I'm open also
Yeah.
to in-house assignments.
Yeah.
However, I realize that at the moment there is more energy in that other space, and I go with the energy, because
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
what you want to make a difference and help people, right? Then you do
Yeah.
well yourself. You know that
Yeah.
better than
Yeah.
than anyone
Yeah.
else.
Yeah. Absolutely. Can you just explain? I mean, in terms of some of there's similarities in my world as well, because I'm having lots of business development conversations, and obviously you have many more than actually come through. But with some of the work you've done so far, where are you? Where's the pinch point for you in terms of you're having those conversations with customers, and there's a point where there's a bite where you've recognized that need for the client. But what sort of themes are you finding specifically within what you do, and what they need? Where are you getting most uptake?
Right. So I see some common challenges that many people face right now. Number one is my budget got cut, or I'm expected to deliver more with the same budget, or even with less budget. Number two, my business is going through huge transformation. I have the day-to-day business.
Yeah.
I need to manage the transformation of the business, especially if I'm working in comms and internal comms.
Yeah.
I need to transform my own function, because the world of digital and AI is changing so rapidly. And I need help. And I can't explain to very junior people or start an onboarding or even recruiting process for a permanent role. Maybe I won't even get the headcount. So can you help me?
Okay.
That's a big challenge for many.
Yeah.
And what I
Bandwidth.
see
Yeah.
then,
Yeah.
sir?
Bandwidth. Yeah. They
Yes,
just need help. Yeah.
exactly. Then
Do they know what they need help with?
no, I think not always, and that is also because people are really challenged at the moment, as I described, with so many things happening, budget cuts, transformation, etc. And then sometimes it's helpful to have someone come in and say,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes, I'll help you. I'll bring you the bandwidth. And at the same time, let's look at what does ABC mean for you next year, 2025, 2026? What's your roadmap going to look like for that transformation from a functional point of view? And the other point I would make is I realize in these conversations frequently that the leadership team, the C-suite, doesn't always fully understand or buy in to what that functional team is delivering. And I think this is where this performance aspect, and my experience having been on the board and leadership teams, can help functional leaders better tailor and internally also explain what they're doing.
Okay, so you're this conduit between the two functions, the C-suite and the actual functional leader, to make sure the message upwards is clear. And are you dealing directly with the board as well? I mean, are you in some cases doing that communication as well, to?
Yeah, I mean, for the
Yeah.
last 10 years,
Yeah.
I've done that in in-house positions, and now I'm helping my clients to do that as well. And
Okay.
I think that, as you just said, that messenger, that translator, that's exactly what I am, both between functional and C-suite teams or cross-functional,
Yeah.
but also externally, because
Yeah.
explaining to the world what this company is doing and why it's
Yeah.
good, and explaining to the company what's happening in the world and how does the company therefore need to change.
Yeah.
That's something that I see a huge demand for.
Okay. And I'm interested how you're approaching your business development, your own personal business development for, for your work. How are you going? Because I guess you've got a pretty good network now, but how are you finding that the BD aspect of your job today? Because that's
I can tell you where I am a couple of months in, and let's talk next year before Christmas and see how it has evolved. But what I'm doing right now is, as you said, my network knows I'm available, and that has given me lots of opportunities and connections. And secondly, I really believe in content marketing. I mean, you cannot preach one thing and then when you need it yourself, do something else. So news to use, right? Posting something on LinkedIn, doing workshops, writing stuff in trade journals that really helps people in their current problems, with their current problems, and then maybe they say, "Oh, I need more support in this," and ring me up or write an email. So I've seen that work as well.
Yeah, because once they've got an affinity with you or aware of what you do, and then it naturally can lead on, can't it? It's like osmosis, sort of into the next plate. But they have to feel comfortable with the relationship and data so far.
And not too salesy, I would say, right? I think keep the barrier really low, the threshold. From my own experience, when you work in-house, you want people who provide solutions, who shower you in value, as someone said.
They make you look good rather than
make you look good, give you ideas, give you suggestions, little prototypes maybe, and don't start with the price tag, but start with the problem and the solution, and then good things will happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And just thinking about the current world, I mean, I think I found going out there with my new venture, the AI. I think we've all heard of AI.
Mm-hmm.
I find it really scary. I'm fascinated by it, but I feel I'm kind of in this place where it's moving so quickly. I mean, this is, and I'm not a technical guy, but this is purely a human feeling on. I feel I'm struggling to keep up with the development change and the amount of information that's incoming. And my ethos with my new company is I'm trying to keep a strong personal element of me in there. And what is it that truly, back to your point at the beginning, it's human connections.
Mm-hmm.
That is really what drives the business ultimately. And I'm struggling, I'm struggling to sort of find my way through it. I mean, look, you're much better placed than I am, but what's your take on what we should be thinking about then and how we navigate AI? It's such a massive topic. I mean, we could talk for hours on it, but what do you see?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I would say anyone who isn't scared at least a little bit and confused is either naive or doesn't tell the truth. I think it's moving too fast for anyone to say, "Oh, I've got it all under control. I know exactly how this works and what that will mean for me personally and my family perhaps as well." So that's number one. So the fact that you feel that way to me means you're processing what's actually happening and you're reflecting, and that's an uncomfortable state because
for sure.
change costs a lot of energy, right? And secondly, I'd say it's important to keep that human connection through the technology, right? The technology gives us new opportunities, but to assume that people want to just exchange now messages with chatbots or robots or whatever, I think is also a misconception. So we saw that also in lots of projects of digital transformation.
Right.
At some point during and right after COVID, some CEOs thought, "Oh, perfect! It's now digital only going forward."
Really?
And that's not turned out to be true, right? So I think you still want that good mix and use technology to connect with people, not to avoid it.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you have any tips, I guess, from your side of things about the future direction here, and I guess in terms of that value added piece for the client? What is your take? What should we be thinking about from your perspective?
So when I think about services that people offer and how they position themselves, like thinking of candidates for you, for example, I would strongly suggest not to have your purpose be about digital or AI and say, I'm Mr. Fix-It, I transform everything for you. It's about knowing your functional skills, whatever function you come from, whether it's medtech, medical or commercial or communications, HR, whatever, and then be data and digitally savvy. That's that connection, that the state of maturity that we now have. It's not a standalone skill or gift anymore to know digital. Also because, as we just discovered, it's constantly evolving. And related to that, I'd say, be curious and practice. And we have a bit more time now as interim managers and consultants to play with this, right? If you're in the corporate world, your hands are sometimes tied in the sense that your day is packed with meetings and processes. And I think that's the gift that we can bring to organizations now, to say, we've seen this, we know exactly what position you're in. And now we have really the finger on the pulse, and we can bring you these innovative ideas, and we've tried and tested them. I think that's something that's very important.
Absolutely. And I was interested, actually. I have a lot of conversations about what people call themselves, because there is so much terminology, and its country differs to country as well. And I was talking to someone the other day. Rightly or wrongly, if you use the word contractor, that seems to be the kind of one at the bottom of the pile, unfortunately, whether it's true or not. You have, I hear a lot of advisory, independent consultant. You have freelancer, which is a bit vague. You have, I guess, fractional, the new sexy term fractional, which it's been around a couple of years now, but I was like, what's fractional? What do you call yourself?
That's a fair point, because also freelancing, as you just described, some people think it's a little bit not enough attached and not enough commitment in it. Freelancer consultants sometimes are seen as people who know what others should be doing, but don't do it themselves. I call myself interim management, project management, and consulting, because I think the three define different things, right? Interim, I help close a gap that's immediate, maybe someone on maternity leave, maybe not the headcount available, but we need support. And then I think that combination of consulting and doing the actual work, right, rolling up your sleeves and managing the project, I think that's critical.
So just coming back to the performance communications piece that we touched on, it would be really helpful just to maybe go a little bit deeper on where that's come from, and really what it means, why you've defined that, and why it's relevant.
The promise of performance communications is to be more effective and more efficient in the way you go after corporate communications, marketing communications, or public affairs. And I'm bringing that experience, many years of experience now also in digital marketing, performance marketing, commercial excellence, that really performance mindset, and bringing it to these functions, communications, corporate affairs, etc. And the idea is to make sure that your senior leaders in the organization have all the confidence that whatever your team does really drives the business forward, because it's 100% aligned with the business strategy, and it uses the latest tools, technologies, as well as data to optimize the performance. So AI plays a role, personas, SEO optimization, customer journeys, all the things that you know traditionally from performance marketing, and bring that to corporate communications. And I've seen really amazing results in terms of uplift of campaign performance with same or even less budget.
Okay, fantastic. And the other thing I'm thinking is, if people are listening to this and are resonating with some of the points that you're bringing forward, what do you see? I mean, what are some of the practical situations when you're having those initial conversations with clients where perhaps they don't know they need your expertise or someone like you? What are there particular scenarios that you are regularly coming across where they're just perhaps not sure how to move forward on it? How could you connect someone to that?
Yeah, so I see three key areas where my support is in demand. Number one is when people have less budgets and the same or even more amount of work to do, and just need to make sure their activities are as effective and impactful as they could be. Second, we talked about AI and digital revolution and transformation. What does that mean for my own function, my own corporate affairs, my own marketing communications team, and how do I set up for success? And number three, zooming out a little bit, almost every company is going through major change, if not all full transformations. And it's important to have people, especially in communications, to bring the organization along, to help drive that change and be that steward of transformation. And that's the third area. Okay,
great. And your and those type of companies, is there a theme between the type? Is there an average, not average, but is there a certain profile of company that you tend to find it clicks with more?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the really large pharma companies or B2B companies with tens or hundreds of thousands of employees usually have large teams and large suppliers helping them with them, right? But, and the very small businesses with just a couple of hundred employees may not necessarily have that degree of sophistication and division of labor, right? But there's that middle mid-size to large companies, a couple of billion turnover, a couple of thousand people. They really feel that need right now. And,
really,
I see that
that's great.
Happening a lot. Yeah,
great, fantastic. That's great. I mean, it's fascinating. I wanted to do this talk with you for a while because I know it will resonate with a lot of people that have set up their own businesses anyway. Just that story I think is really important, the human elements there, but also what you do is so relevant right now as well. And I'm not an expert. I thought, I know someone that is. So in summary, from my understanding of your situation, you are working as whatever we decide is the right phrase, but as an independent consultant and interim. But this is really allowing you to, I guess, rapidly expand your customer base and knowledge, because you're getting a lot of this. And this is typical with the work I do with a lot of interims I place. That is the advantage. You're very rapidly going to situations. You're delivering, but you're also picking up knowledge, which means it's really helpful for the next assignment. So day to day, this is what you're doing. You're supporting clients with that. But you also said earlier that you're open to the right permanent opportunity as well. And for me, I see that a lot, because it's a really good interview process for you, as well as them assessing if that could be the right company. You're actually working together before you're officially doing the marriage kind of thing. So so that's really helpful. But for you, there's both options there, which is which gives you, I guess, double sort of scenarios, which is great.
Yeah, I think it's a win-win, right?
Yeah,
As you said, there's less risk for the customer. It's also less risk for me because I know the business a little bit
yeah,
already, and it's such a fast-paced time right now
yeah,
where you want to have the opportunity to explore, to be connected to multiple companies and industries
yeah,
and types of challenges. I think that allows you to develop professionally, and that's what I'm taking from this as well.
yeah,
And then when the right opportunity comes up,
yeah.
either permanent or another interim
Mhm.
gig, then I'm available.
Yeah, great. Well,
But I
that's sort of.
wanted to ask you that one question back,
Please, no,
Marcus.
thank you.
You asked me about where I fit in terms
Mm,
of my positioning and also the sweet spot of companies that
yeah.
you think need your support. How do you address this?
Well, thank you for asking me a question.
I'm
It's not
curious.
very common.
I'm not so sure if I'm allowed to, but
No, of course, no, it's great. I mean, look, this is, um, it's good. We're both giving it a go on this video. I mean, I think that's great. I think it just shows our characters that we're not afraid to put ourselves out there. But where it comes on for me, I actually find most of my customer base are smaller to mid-size. So I'm not really working with big farmers. And I don't know if that's really snobby of me. I used to work with a lot of companies. BMS we worked with for years, did loads of recruitment for them. So I think firstly, the reason I work with small to mid-size is probably more down to a logistics and ability to work with them because there's just less paperwork involved. Normally with a bigger company, you're part of a mass program of suppliers. It's a little bit more impersonal. This is my experience. Might not be others. And you're just part of the process. I don't like that. I don't enjoy being part of the process. I want to connect with people. And I find when I work with biotechs that are maybe they're not even in phase 3 yet, they're sort of phase 1, 2A. They don't, I mean, the example we touched on when we were talking before is, there's a US client I'm working with. They just don't have the capability. It's not as if they don't have headcount. I mean, they just don't have the person yet. It's not even there yet. That's really exciting. I love the fact that you can actually connect with companies where they're smart enough to know they need help. I love the energy and engagement you get with these emerging biotechs. They've got a good asset and it's prominent. Obviously, there's a high degree of failure as well, but I love that human feeling of we're building something, we're up for it, we're going to try. I just love it. You can't beat it. I'm not saying you don't get that with big pharma, but I just feel it with the smaller ones, and
yeah.
so that for me is, and mid-size as well. Again, it's just a bandwidth issue sometimes, all sorts of situations. So because of that, and also I tend to work. I've sort of followed where people have gone. So I have worked with a lot of consultancy and vendor business, and I love those guys. By the way, they've been a really big support for me setting up. But I guess I followed the flow of where people tend to end up, which is pharma biotech.
Right.
So I think that answers the question. I mean, yeah, that's where it's easier and it's exciting, and there's so much variety out there. So, but I think maybe like you, I've been really struggling with trying to think what I am and what I want to be, because you can't be all things to everybody. You have to think. So for me, I had these 3 ideas that I have a functional expertise in market access and health economics. That's where my network is. But I can also do other stuff. It's not, if I don't know, like digital marketing, I didn't know it. So you just be honest with people. Really simple. Just you tell them where they're up to. Most people are like, okay, that's fine. Just they appreciate the honesty, and you can't undervalue that. The second bit was what we've just touched on, is the type of customers, the type of companies. And then the other bit is purely the interims and advisory bit, actually that way of working. I do executive search, I do permanent hiring, but actually I really love interims and placing people such as yourself in companies where it's very impactful very quickly. So I love the pace of it. So yeah. Thanks for asking. It's
Yeah, no, I was curious.
Wasn't prepared to answer, but yeah.
No, I was curious, and I was shrugging at one point because I got a super high volume alert for my next meeting coming up.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, yeah, no worries.
No. It's always this 15 minutes warning, right? So probably people watching this.
You look shocked.
What happened to him? it was just super high volume on my ear. But yeah, thank you so
No,
much.
no. I mean, brilliant. I mean, first of all, thank you so much. Genuinely a pleasure. And that is the single biggest thing, I would say. Well, there's several with the journey, but I keep thinking, oh, no, that's the biggest thing. I think the biggest thing with setting up on your own is thinking, can you do it? And having the monkey on your shoulder telling you can't. But one of the other biggest things is the human connections with people that have done it at the same time. And you suddenly, there's this tsunami of support of people just, we can help you, and you for free. They don't want anything. They just want to support the small guy that's trying to get on. That's what you're doing. You know, you're out there, and I think it's to your credit. I mean, I'm really grateful you wanted to give this a go on video, because I'm putting myself out there, and I saw that you were doing that, and that inspires me. I love seeing people just trying it, because I guess most people, it's daunting, isn't it? Doing a video thing that's going to go up on the internet, but ultimately we're being ourselves, and that's, for me, that's the really important thing. Is if I'm myself, I will attract the right customers, and I will also repel the wrong customers, and I'm fine with that as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I completely echo what you said. And for me, it was especially nerve-wracking talking to a recruiter and being recorded and publishing it on the internet.
I know. What are we doing? but we're just saying us. I mean, honest, that's what it is. So, that's who we are. But generally, thank you so much. I wish you the very best with your assignments, and if it's a permanent role route you go down, anything I can do to help, of course I will. But for today, and lovely to reconnect. I really appreciate your time, and genuinely pleased for your venture and how well it's going.
Thanks for tuning in to BioPharma Unscripted with Marcus Metcalfe. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a review. Connect with us on LinkedIn to join the discussion and suggest future guests. Until next time, this is Marcus Metcalfe, bringing you the voices transforming biotech and pharma today.